This is The Spot, a BYU-Idaho production where we talk about what you're talking about at BYU-Idaho. Today's hosts are me, Isabella Salazar,
Robert Harris, Brogan Houston,
and special guest,
Garrett Nilsson.
The views and opinions of this podcast are not that of BYU-Idaho Radio or the university and are solely the opinions of the hosts. So we are joined by Garrett Nilsson, and he is the manager of career and academic advising over career exploration. So we're going to talk about narrowing down a career path. I don't know about you guys, but this is something that I have struggled with a lot. And I mean, even when I did finally settle on majoring in communication, it's still so broad. So it's just been, it was very hard for me. My boss would always joke about how he would always say, like, what's your major this semester? Because I was always just changing my mind. But how has it been for you guys?
I've been pretty fortunate to kind of know what I wanted to do since I was in middle school. But now that I'm working in a different kind of vein, I'm starting to think like, oh, wait, what do I do now? Because I wanted to be a video editor since I was in middle school. But now that I'm working in radio, it's like, I kind of like this. Not that I don't like video, like, can I do both? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So, Brother Nilsson, tell us a bit about what you do and how you help students with these kind of, these questions.
Sure, yeah. I'll just give you a bit of my background, introduce myself a little bit, and then talk about what I'm doing at BYU-Idaho. So I've been at BYU-Idaho for 4 years, and I'm a career counselor, work in the Career and Academic Advising office. I'm also a career and self-discovery instructor, so I work with the faculty who teach that class for campus. I'm in the academic advising office, and just as a side note, some of my other things I do, I'm a Spartan racer. I've done 18 Spartan races over the last 10 years.
Wow.
And I'm a miniature Mediterranean donkey farmer, so I have 15 miniature donkeys down in Idaho Falls.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
That's what we do.
That's so cool.
So I think when you're trying to decide what you want to do with your life, there's a lot of different thoughts that go through your mind. Students often come in, and I was hearing you talk about this, students come in and they're like, I think I'm the only person that doesn't have this figured out. And my first message to them is, look, there's a lot of people who are in the same boat. They're exploring, they're looking for what's right for them, and the thing to do is keep exploring because you'll find it. And so that gives them some encouragement to be like, okay, it's normal to not know, and it's okay to keep moving forward while you explore. So in career exploration, we just help people through that. We've got some great tools, web resources we can point people to, and I'll talk a little bit more about those as we go.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I'm also just curious. You mentioned that you've been kind of working in like career exploration for about 15 years. How did you decide that's what you wanted to do?
That is a great question. So I majored in psychology, so I knew I wanted to be a people person. Like I knew that was something for me. I also really enjoyed teaching, so I've always pursued like presenting at conferences. And so when I got to teach a class and be a career counselor, that was like the ideal fit for me here at BYU-Idaho. I just found that working with people on something that had a really concrete outcome, like once you decide what you're wanting to do, you're on your way. Or once you get a job and you're moving forward in that job, my help is done. So that the counseling that helps people get work and get jobs was just so appealing to me. When I studied psychology, I went and got my master's degree in vocational counseling. And a few years after that, got my certified career counselor credentials. So it's been a fun journey.
That's pretty cool. That's funny that you mentioned psychology because that was my major initially when I came to school. But now it's my minor, so I haven't completely let go of it. Tell us, you mentioned some like kind of misconceptions students will say that they're like the only ones who haven't got it figured out. Are there any other common like misconceptions, I guess, that students come with?
Yeah, I think there's a book called The Zookeeper's Secret, and it's the book we use in our class. And so there's some great about this awakening when you become a young adult and you're like, oh, Like having a job is a real thing. It's not this dream world that I had as I was growing up. So like as a child, people usually are in this state of like wonder. There's just this cool world out there of I can be a firefighter or a doctor or a lawyer or something. These most of the careers are Halloween costumes. And it's like, oh, I'm going to be a nurse, So you have a very limited view of what the world of work is, but it sounds so exciting as a child. Then you hit this moment of reality that's like, oh, most people don't get to do what they want to do. It's like it's a competitive world out there. There's literally thousands of careers to choose from, some I've never heard of before. So all of these kind of things turn into the perfect storm of like, I feel lost, and the world is so complex that I'm not sure how to go forward. And so those are some of the things that we commonly see and talk to students about of, what is it that you want to do? What is it that you are passionate about? What spiritual gifts or talents do you have? What purposes or causes call to you? What is something you want to make an impact on in the world? And is there a place where you can do that? So we try to line those three concepts up: passion, purpose, and place. That's really the things to look for when you're looking for your calling in life.
I know that there are some like assessments that you guys have. Do those kind of help to narrow down like what your, just kind of the things you mentioned, like what are you passionate about, what your goals are?
Yeah, there's traditional career counseling, which is like there's certain kinds of people and there's certain kinds of job. If we match the right people up with the right jobs, they're going to be happy. So that's like the oldest career counseling idea, and it's still a good idea, but it's over 100 years old that we were trying to match the right people to the right job. So really a more modern approach is what do you feel is a purpose for you? People are seeking purpose and meaning, so that's a very different kind of conversation than this person and this job fit. It's more, it has to be something that is meaningful to me. So that kind of exploration, we have some tools that help for that too. So we've got both kinds of tools. What's a good fit and what's meaningful to you? So what I would recommend everybody do is go to the website, either go on the BYU-Idaho website and put in major and career guide. So we've developed this website that has all these tools and all these resources on it. It's a great place to explore all the majors that BYU-I has to offer, and also to look at our career exploration tools and assessments and see which ones you might want to try out. Most of them are there available. They're all free. So a lot of universities, you'll go and you'll pay up $30 or something for some of these tests, and we just offer them all for free. So it's a pretty awesome deal. So go out to that major and career guide, and you'll see some of the great tools we have.
So let's say I have been at BYU-Idaho for 2 semesters. I've done most of my generals. I know kind of the things that I like and dislike, but I don't know where I want to go for my career. And I come into your office and I sit down with you and I say, what should I do? What's the first thing that you do? And then how do you help me find my career?
Yeah, at that point when you already have 60 credits, things start to be like, I got to make a decision because I'm going to start taking classes either I don't need or are going to keep me here longer. So that goes into some of the advising that we do in our office, getting you into the right path and getting you graduating on time. So that's part of the conversation, but the finding the right fit, a lot of times we will talk about what did you like to do when you were a kid? Because a lot of times we knew what our gifts were when we were young, and then at some point we forget what those are. So I like to try to get those to come out a little bit more. Sometimes a career assessment's helpful with that because I can see themes, I can see how those results come out when you're answering questions on a test. Do you like this? Do you not like this? Are you neutral about it? Sometimes those are the easier questions to go through. But I have this ability to just listen to what a student is saying and be like, oh, the major you're looking for is this one. So it's just a map in my mind of all of our majors because I know all of our majors. I know what career paths those majors will lead to. And so when I hear someone start talking, I can just map it to that And we have some of these. I've tried to like create a printed version of the map in my mind.
Yeah.
And so that's a tool that we use to like get students to the right majors and the right career paths.
So you're the career guru is what I'm hearing.
I don't know about that title, but I do have that gift of mapping it out.
That's awesome.
So tell me a bit about the Career and Self-Discovery course.
Yes, thank you for asking. I am one of the teachers for that class, so shout out to any of my students. We have about 10 sections of that class every semester. And so it does have limited seats, and it's very popular. A lot of students want to take it so that they can answer the very questions we're talking about, exploring careers. The self-discovery is a major element too. The better you know yourself, the better you can make a career choice. So we do a lot of work in that. We do personality work. We do interests work. We do values. We do challenges that are important to you. We also talk about the future of work. We talk about how to look at economic information, like how much do certain careers pay out there. So the class, through its 13 classes, is going to walk you through all those details about yourself and then all those details out there in the world of work and help you make those connections. So it's a great course.
Yeah. Have you been able to like keep in touch with students after they've taken the course at all and see kind of what they end up deciding on?
Yeah, there have been some. And if they've been through the course and they've felt like they're on the right path, like there's not an outcome for the course of, oh, I've decided on my major and I'm locked in now.
Can you imagine if that was like the final? It's
Yeah,
like,
it's
hey,
like-
decide now.
So some people are just starting to explore when they finish the class. But there's some who come and they kind of already know and they use the class to really just get more in depth for that. So yeah, I've seen a lot of students who either stick with the plan they had when they came. I've seen other students come who had a plan and they totally changed it through the semester. And it just was an eye-opener for them. And then the other kind of student is the ones who came because they were lost and then they found some direction like to move forward with. And so that's what we always hope to see.
What do you think? What's the most popular major at BYU-I? What's the one that you see the most?
Yeah, I've seen some of the numbers on this, but ones that are very common, and I'll kind of explain maybe why they're common too. So business management is a very, very large number of students in that. I think there's an appeal to be like, oh, if I understand business, then I can go out on my own. I can make my own business, or I can work for someone else's company and manage it. And if I'm in business, it's going to be just a great place for me to be. So we have a lot of students in that. There's a lot of students in our engineering programs. What's interesting about that one is they came probably already knowing that's what they wanted to do. It's like an engineer has some hard wiring behind them, like math, being able to understand some of those in-depth concepts of the science and the math involved in engineering. And so those majors are popular. We don't see a lot of them in career exploration because they were already good to go. We do see more of the business students. We see a lot of interdisciplinary studies is also a popular major and also very career focused. So yeah, those are some of the big majors. We have 105 majors at BYU-Idaho. And so there's just a lot of options. And with interdisciplinary studies, there's about 1,000 different ways to customize your degree as well. So it's a complex choice. And there's some majors that have very few students in them. And so some of our arts majors are small groups of students, but they've found what's right for them. And there are careers in arts. There are careers in music. And as you guys are seeing, there are careers in communication. So there's something out there for everybody.
So how much stock do you put in when somebody comes and visits you and asks, what should I do? How much stock do you put into making money versus doing what you love?
Yeah, it's a great question. I put making money down at like number 5. So there might be several things ahead of that. I mentioned passion, purpose, and place. That's a really high one. Spiritual gifts is a really good indicator. If someone could walk into my office and say, my spiritual gift is to encourage people, we would immediately know some careers that do that, and we could get them moving pretty quickly towards some majors and careers. So it's that discovery of your spiritual gifts is a big one. I think work-life balance is another one of the top ones. Finding a job where you can still have a life, a family, time to serve in the church or in the community in some meaningful way outside of work. So there's a lot of different things I would say are more important than the money, but being at 5 doesn't mean it's not important. Like, we got to make a paycheck, and we got to provide for our needs and for our families. So it's important to know. I just wouldn't put it in those top spots.
And you said the work-life balance. I don't know about you, Brogan, but I get nervous going into news with that.
Yep. Yep.
And I know like that networking is also a big part of career exploration, right? What advice do you have for someone who, they always say, use your contacts, use your connections, but what about someone who just doesn't feel like they have any? Where do they kind of start with that?
I love that. Yeah, the networking in job search and the networking in exploration are two ways to do that. So in exploration, it's talking to people who do a variety of different careers. Like, we have an informational interview assignment in the course, and this is just a great skill to be out there and talk to people who are in careers that look interesting. You probably have an aunt or an uncle or your mom and dad. You might not have asked them like about their career, or talk to one of their coworkers. So you ask your parents, hey, who could I talk to at your work? And then they connect you. That's networking. We have faculty at BYU-Idaho. A lot of them come from industry where they worked professionally before they came and taught. So they have these connections, and they number one, are experts in their areas. So you can talk to them, and then you can ask them, who else should I talk to in the industry? And they'll give you some names. So the faculty are a great network resource. Then we have the Career Center, which is on the main floor with the crossroads. It's the one with the flashy looking sign on the front. The Career Center is like the networking hub for jobs. So when you go to the Career Center, you're going to find help getting internships. You're going to find help finding job postings that are available for our students. Their big goal is finding employers who will recruit our students. So that networking piece is already there. You just got to go and be a part of that. Use some of their tools, like sign up for Handshake. Use some of their tools to help you prepare for interviews as well, like their resume review, VMOC, their interviewing practice are also some great resources.
I've several times through the past few years, I've actually given some of my connections network. I've shared people I know to other people that I know would be interested. Like my uncle, he's a sports broadcaster, and I know a lot of people who are interested in that, and I've shared my contact with them to help them grow their career. And I think that's a good way to go about that. If you have something that might not work with you, there's definitely someone out there that has that interest. So I think if you share what you have with others, they're going to share what they have with you. And I think having a environment of openness and sharing with people what you have learned and what your contacts are, you can always, it's just open for growth for everyone.
Can I share one more thing on that? So at BYU-Idaho, as a student, you have a connection to every other student who's been at BYU-Idaho over the years. So all of our alumni that are out there working in professional jobs and roles at all these cool companies, you can talk to them. You can be like, hey, I'm a current student. And they're like, oh, I want to give back. I want to help my fellow students at BYU-Idaho. And so on LinkedIn, you can search the alumni and find out what industries they're working in, what companies they work for, what major they were in when they were. Find the right person that you might want to reach out to through LinkedIn. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's awesome. Thank you. Something else that I just thought of was I spent last semester in Washington, D.C. for an internship, and they have a huge coffee culture. And by that, I just mean they'll ask people out to coffee and do kind of informational interviews or just really use it to network. And often they don't even get coffee. So it's just a formality calling it that. But I think that is just a really useful thing. And it can just be like, hey, do you want to get lunch? And then you can just ask about, their career or what their goals are or who they know, all those things. So I think that's something we should bring here, ask people out to lunch.
It's a great idea. There's a book out there that's Never Eat Alone. Always have somebody you can talk with while you're eating. They need to eat, you need to eat. You can talk about meaningful things while you're doing it.
There you go. I love it. Tell us about the new website really quick.
Yeah, so the major and career guide that I mentioned earlier, I just go on and search that. Or if you can find the student guide website, there's a tab for major and career, and you can go through our pages there. There's several different pages. If you're on the major and career guide landing page, that's the one where you can see all the career assessment tools that we have to offer. We've spent quite a bit of time gathering a lot of these tools and trying to put them in one place. So that's where these are now. So we're referring students to this website to see our tools. And I'll tell you about just a few of them. So we have a new module in iPlan. So if you're in iPlan, you're doing your grad planner or any other tools that are in iPlan, you'll see a career exploration tile. And it's fully redesigned. We've spent the last 18 months or so really making this awesome tool. And it has 3 career assessments in it. It has an interest assessment, a personality assessment, and a challenge card sort. So you go in and you take these assessments, and then you can see what majors and what careers might map to those various assessments. And then it's just a great tool for exploring all the majors we have and what careers are connected to those majors as well. So that's a great place to start. You don't have to ever even come into our office. You can just access it through iPlan or from the website, and you can just take that assessment. So that's a great place to start. Now, there's several that you can do that with, but it might be beneficial to meet with someone in our office if you take some of our other assessments. So you can take the challenge cards directly from the website as well. You can do values in action, which will give you your top 5 strengths and values. You can take an assessment called True Motivate, and it's going to have you write 3 short stories and then evaluate what was your motivations when those stories happened, and you'll end up with 5 top motivators. And that's a really cool thing to find out about yourself. Like, what does motivate you? So if that intrigues you, go and take that True Motivate. And then we have a Nodell career values card game as well, where you can evaluate these 55 different values and then compare them to careers that you're thinking about and just think through it really critically that way. There's one tool where you do have to meet with a career counselor to do it, and it's called WOWI, or World of Work Inventory. It's our most in-depth assessment. It's the most time commitment for you and for the counselor. So it's a great opportunity if you can take it. Again, it's free. Usually it would be around $50 value to take this. So if you do want to take that, it gives you instruction on the website to email the career exploration team, and they'll set you up with an account and an appointment with a career counselor to take that one. And again, it's comprehensive. It has about 330 questions, and it takes you about an hour to do it. And then it will take you about a 45-minute visit to go through those results with a career counselor.
I'm wondering, is the World of Work Inventory, does it test your aptitudes in different, like with math or with reading or with abstract? Is that kind of what it is?
It does have a section for that, and that's what's unique about it. A lot of career assessments are, if you like this, then that's what you should go do. And you don't know if you'd be good at it or not. So in order to find the right career, you really need to like it. You need to have a good work style for it, the right personality, and you need to be skilled. You need to have competitive skills in that area. So WOWI does have 6 different skill measures. And so there's vocabulary, math, abstraction, spatial form, organizing, and mechanical electrical. So it's going to give you some questions in that area, and that's going to allow you to see, what are my strengths? That's the whole point of it. We're not going to be like, hey, you failed these parts. That's not our focus. We're always very strengths focused. And we're going to say, based on this, these are the strengths that you should be pursuing. These are things that you could use and do well with.
I had no idea we had all these resources. That's really good to know. I hope people out there that need to find out what career they want to do, I hope they're listening to this or can find it in some other way. If I want to book one of these tests, how do I go about doing that? Do I just come and visit you guys, or can I do it online, or how can I book the tests?
So most of them, most of the ones I mentioned, other than the WOWI, you can take them online. When you go to the website, you'll just click and it will have you sign up right then, and you can do it. If you do want to meet with someone about your results, you're like, I'm not sure what to make of this, like what it means, then you just walk into the Career and Academic Advising office or call the 1411 number and get an appointment with an advisor. And any of our career and academic advisors can do these career exploration appointments. The career counselors are reserved for the WOWI, that most in-depth one. But all the other ones are available for anyone who wants to use them, and any advisor can talk with them through the career exploration.
You've been listening to The Spot, a production of BYU-Idaho Radio. Today's hosts were me, Isabella Salazar,
Robert Harris,
Brogan Houston,
and special guest,
Garrett Nilsson.
The views and opinions of this podcast are not that of BYU-Idaho Radio or the university and are solely the opinions of the hosts. This episode was edited by Brogan Houston. Producers were the hosts with supervision by Brandon Isle. Our theme music is Finding Happiness by DJ Quads and The Perpetual Ticking of Time by Artificial Music. To listen to more episodes of The Spot, like and follow us on social media or visit our website at byui.edu/radio and click podcasts. Be sure to subscribe to the BYU-Idaho Radio podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and leave a review of the show and leave a comment on what we should talk about next.